Let's talk a little bit about the rise of internet-based citizen journalism. What do you think is the significance of this movement, and where do you think it's headed?
Well, it's so significant that police all over the United States will tell citizen journalists to turn their cameras off. We saw the train shooting at a subway system in the Bay Area on the West Coast where they confiscated several camera phones and then said that they didn't have any cameras or that the cameras malfunctioned that were there on the train platform. And then it came out that other people on board a train and down the platform had videotaped it. And so that cold-blooded murder was exposed. So they're very desperate right now, all over the United States, routinely, college students out doing an architecture study, or folks with Amtrak who follow their national contest for photos of the train system for advertisement. They get arrested, or they get given tickets, or their cameras get confiscated. And now in England, they've just passed a law that photographing police is an act of terrorism, and they say, well, only if we can prove it's to help terrorists. But they're saying if it can in any way help terrorists, the way it's written, they can now say, well, you took photos of police officers. That could be used because it was on YouTube or Google or on Facebook by terrorists, so you get 10 years in prison and a giant fine. And people say, oh, that won't happen. Well, I'm glad to see thousands of reporters went down to Scotland Yard and photographers and videographers and protested by taking photos of the police. The problem is I have been in England filming Terror Storm 3 years ago, and it's on video when the police walk over and say, turn your cameras off, when I'm just on the street corner interviewing people or even videotaping Parliament from a half mile away. And they put me in a terrorist database as a form of intimidation. And every person I know in England, and I know more than 10 people, 2 of them are the Watsons that do work for my websites, the Watson brothers, and they'll be taking their girlfriend out on a date, and the police walk up, line everybody up, ask for their papers, start searching them, and put them in databases. And so it's all part of training the public to be searched and controlled. But now they're saying it'll be an act of terrorism to videotape the police. But I believe the public, and it was great to see citizen journalists, even mainstream media, are going to rebel and just videotape and photograph police even more and put it on the web. So the establishment is losing the infowar because they're in the wrong, but they're moving to not just curtail and shut down and restrict and choke the free internet as we know it, and forces on the internet too, which they control, and where you have a sub-website on one of their platforms and then waive your rights, like Facebook or YouTube, to be on there. They can erase you anytime they want. They are also trying to physically, on the ground, choke and stop citizen journalists. But we saw this in the Renaissance. We saw this in the 1776, in the decade leading up to it with the Sons of Liberty in the United States. This is only going to foment more citizen journalism. And folks, you don't have to be, quote, radical, talking about the FEMA camps and the martial law and the New World Order and the banking takeover, though that's the most important issue to cover right now. You can just have a local neighborhood newsletter you put out, or you can put out a local citywide website and start taking photos as a hobby and write little reports, and it will end up getting more traffic if you just do it for a few months or a few years than most major city websites, because people instinctively don't trust the mainstream media anymore. And just at a gut level, I mean, more evidence of that is Congress having an 11% approval rating or a 9% approval rating. It's been that low before. That the whole system is bankrupt and the people know it. And I think the fact that the establishment's trying to quash free speech and citizen journalism will only add more oxygen to the fires of liberty.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think you touched on an important point there, that the rise of the new media is really predicated upon the death of the old media. So, of course, as the old media starts to die out, of course, they're trying to quash free speech and citizen journalism. But another way that they might try to take over the movement is to try to put a false copy or a false paradigm of the citizen journalism movement in the controlled corporate media. So can you speak to that, some of the false ways they're trying to take over or co-opt the energy out of the alternative media?
Absolutely. They're going to try to co-opt. I've had a lot of big executives call me, offer me TV shows, offer me kind of a citizen journalist TV show, but I would have to compromise to do that. And so it hasn't ever got on television. Discovery Channel, with a famous director, did their highest budget piece ever, a $3.5 million production that I was prominent in about the alternative media and activism last year. And the prominent director had said that internally Discovery Channel wanted to go in more of a HBO direction because they knew that, you know, only anti-New World Order stuff was basically popular now, or libertarian type ideas. And he had never had one of his films shot down or controlled. He had Final Cut. And after he made the piece, they said, okay, come back and add these people we want you to interview. And he even tried to compromise at first, but then just said, no, I'm not going to do it. So a $3.5 million production was shelved. Now, I have IFC, the Independent Film Channel. It's a little bit avant-garde, you know, more than the mainline mainstream, but it's still owned by Cablevision. They're coming out later this week to interview me, and they're wanting to know about the alternative media. So you do have the establishment finally recognizing that they're not these omnipresent lords of information, and so there's an attempt for them to try to mimic and duplicate. You see them showing YouTube videos and clips and trying to have citizen journalists report for CNN and Fox, but people they've vetted and chosen, folks see right through that. We see them going for a grainy type look now in many of their productions to mimic the alternative, but also in shows like Heroes and literally every other major drama or action-adventure TV show, action-adventure TV show, we see them with New World Order themes, secret government themes, the government staging terror attack themes. We see them trying to co-opt everything and try to make it kind of fictionalized as the background noise so that when citizens see real information along those lines, they will confuse fact with fiction, fictional material with real-world material at a subconscious level, and then will be acclimated to it. But we do see an overthrow of the conventional paradigm by the alternative media and a consensus forming in the alternative media that the New World Order is real, global government's real, the FEMA camps are real. So the enemy has gone from denying all of that to suddenly admitting in the Financial Times of London with the headline, and now for world government, that yes, it's the secret world government, yes, it's for your own good, yes, it's authoritarian, but that's the only thing that will save us from the banking collapse. But then people go, wait a minute, you're the ones that engineered it. So that's why we see the Wall Street Journal saying the North American Union is the only solution to the future. That's why we see Newsweek and Time Magazine with headlines like the New World Order saying, yes, a global super bank will control the entire world and set the currencies and set the interest rates and knock heads and control the evil United States. You know, they're twisting the anti-globalist move to where it's a American branded thing when it's not really. The U.S. has been used as an engine. So they're trying to act like they're anti-establishment and claim that if we jump out of the frying pan into the fire, that the New World Order will save us. But, I mean, that's not going to work either. But they've been so desperate, denying world government existed while they were building the architecture right in front of our faces, that now they've noticed that backfired on them. So they're trying to roll it out right now and just condition people to accept it. And that seems to have blown up 10 times worse in their face. So instead of a Midas touch, everything turning to gold they touch, everything is turning to crap they touch.